Welcome to Grace Among Us, the podcast where we unearth the many faces and places of grace and share stories of the power of grace in our human lives. Our desire is that this will inspire you to see grace in your own life and share it with others.
Good day, Carrie Richard. I am Ebony Gilbert, and we are here today to have our Grace Among Us podcast that we do bi-weekly. Today, we're very fortunate to have a special guest. Curtis Kotake is joining us to tell us his story, and we think he is a super dope, super interesting guy. He's got a lot of experience with grace, and we can't wait for you to hear from him. And this is somewhat of a continuation of our podcast we did a couple weeks ago, the earlier episode where we were talking about these bowls, these broken bowls put back together, and now we have the guy who's behind it with us, Mr. Curtis. Curtis, Carrie, I'll let you introduce yourself very briefly, and then we'll move on and we'll get into our talk with Curtis.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, Ebony. My name is Carrie Richard. I am a mindset coach and I help people make space and enjoy the ride. And I get to spend a lot of great time with my dear friend Ebony talking about one of my favorite subjects, which is grace. And as you said, we have hiding in the wings for those who watch the video. Actually, he's just on audio today, Mr. Curtis Kotake. And I'm holding, Curtis, I'm sorry, I'm holding up your picture really quick. So those who are watching can see. And yes, he makes these beautiful bowls in the method of, and Curtis, please tell me if I butcher this, in Kintsugi. And
No, that's right.
awesome. And so Curtis, I want to hand it over to you. And I guess just begin if you can tell us, like, how did this practice find you, and maybe a little bit about practice.
Okay. Well, the way it found me is that I think I needed to be found. I had, like we all have, we've gone through some tough things in our life, and when I found this craft, it resonated in me, and so I learned how to do it. It's not something new I created. It's something that has been around for centuries. But I really didn't know much about it. But then I saw something about it, and it resonated with me. It touched me, and I thought, I can do this. And so I just learned how to do it. And really, it's just a craft. But I think what we've been through all these past years, and what we've gone through in our lives, I just hit the perfect craft for this time and place and time, I think. And so, my first bowls were failures, but it was a learning experience. I kept my first bowl, which ended up it didn't come back together at all, and I actually threw it in the garbage. And I thought, I don't know about this, but then I ended up digging it out because I thought, I'll figure it out. And my technique has changed through the years. I've only been doing this a couple years, but it's been, per se, a COVID project. And I've given bowls out, and I probably have made at least 500 bowls now. I've kind of lost count. But, there's not a shortage of people that benefit from it. So, that's pretty much it, when the first bowl I gave was to a friend who had lost a brother, and it just kind of took off from there, and they were really touched by it. And I thought, it's kind of nice to do something where it helps in the healing. It doesn't heal, but it's nice to be part of it. And so anyway, that's pretty much how it began.
Awesome. I love, Curtis, how you said that it really found you. And I guess my question is, there was a piece where you said, it Kintsugi resonated with you. And I'd love to hear, like, a little bit about it for our listeners and what resonated for you? Like how did it catch you?
Well, I think the metaphor of being broken, and then embracing the scars of our life. And so when I put it back together, and then I put the gold on it, it makes the bowl more beautiful, right? And so I think it's embracing our history, embracing the scars of our life, and then actually becoming stronger because of it. I had a couple good friends who passed away, I don't know, some 10 years ago. And it took me a long time. I don't know if I'm even over it now. It's such a shock. And it's nice for me to make something that brings actually joy to other people. And so it's therapeutic for me in the making. And so, I think, like with you two, being that it's touched you, it's easy to understand the metaphor. And so, and it's an easy thing to do, really. But I just, like I said, I think I just hit something at the right time. I've seen it on TV shows now. In fact, a customer today told me about, there was a cartoon show for kids. It's called something Luna. And there was a little part in that. There was a part in Ted Lasso that I just saw a couple nights ago that referred to the Kintsugi bowl. And it's like, I think I just hit something at the right time. So
You're ahead of the curve, Curtis. I love that.
On this one.
Yeah, it's so I'm holding up the bowl one of the bowls that you made. Ebony's got one too. And this, can you talk about, you said it's a couple thousand years old, and like the concept, I'm going to keep it real simple because the concept is like, not only the bowls get put back together, right? But the where the break is actually decorated with gold. It's actually made more prominent than trying to be hidden. And so, can you speak to that, like what the philosophy is behind this process?
Well, yes, yeah. That's the scars of our life. How they shouldn't be hidden. And so my bowl, it's the traditional kintsugi, would be more flush to the bowl, to where my beads, you can actually feel it. And I actually do that on purpose because I want, when you hold the bowl, you can feel where the breakage was. And that's the whole thing as far as the brokenness in our life, and then how it's part of our history, and we go on, but we've become stronger because of it. And I think through all our trials and tribulations of our life, we become stronger. If not, if anything, maybe through some of the things that we've gone through, we can actually help other people go through it as well. And so, that's pretty much, part of the feelings of what I do. It's not a century old thing. It actually goes back to like the 15th century in Japan. So it's really not that old, but somebody had to start it, and that's where it started.
I gotcha.
Curtis, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
When you decided to make the breaks, the flaws visible and not have it flush with the rest of the bowl, was that deliberate, or did it accidentally occur and you were like, I like this. Let's make this a thing? Because I really like that you can feel it in your hand.
Yeah, when I first started making them and stuff, the beads weren't even as prominent as they are now. I think I've changed through the years, and I've actually I've done it to where you can feel the bead more, And so, I don't know. It's just the way that I do it. If you were to go online, you can look, and people do things differently. But this is my method, and it's just like the bowls that you two have. Maybe a couple years from now, what I'll be doing is a little different, maybe than the technique that what you guys got. Who's to say? Things change. I look at my bowls when I first started. Like when I go visit my friends and stuff that I've given bowls to, and I look at them, and it's amazing how much different it is now. So, but that's the metamorphosis of change, right? I mean, we don't all do the same thing forever. That's life, man. And so, but it's been a project where it's great. It makes me feel good. It makes people that I give bowls to feel good, and it makes people that I give bowls to who they give it to feel good. Like Ebony, I'm sure you're happy to get your bowl from Carrie, right? It's just because it's a way of telling people that I care. I think too. Yeah. It's just a way of expression. I think that sometimes we're afraid to show, and so being older now, I'll be 65 this year. I feel a little more free to express myself to people.
I love it, and I'm part of that second category of someone buys your bowl and gives it to someone else. Carrie gave me mine, to your point, and I was really touched. And I received it at a time that I wasn't feeling very well. I felt a little broken. So it really, really touched me in a deep way. And then I read the card that was in it, and I'm not a very sentimental person when it comes to gifts, but I left it on my counter. It sits on my counter, and I wait for people to ask about it so I can tell them the story. And then I watch how it changes them. So it's like this. It's like part of the dining room kitchen experience now. Come sit at the counter, pick up the Curtis bowl, and let me talk to you about it. It's a talking point at this point. Like it's a whole conversation starter, and I am so grateful to you and the evolution of how you make these bowls, because I think the way the bowl that I have was made, I feel like it was specially designed to speak to what I was going through in life at the time I received it. Which sounds
every bowl
absolutely ridiculous, but
every bowl, which I like, is like raindrops. Every bowl is different. They may break similar, but I would say there's never been two bowls out of all the 500 I've done. Some break more, some break less. But no two ever break the same. They may break similar the way I break them, but part of the fun is when I break them, when I open up the towel, it's like what it looks like, because every time I break it and I hear it, I'm thinking, oh boy, this is going to be a lot. Sometimes it's not, sometimes it is, but then it's always a little challenge to put it back together. But I'm pretty good at it now. But it does spark conversation, which is good too. I golf, and there's somebody in my club, the president of my club. He's a physician, and they go down to Southern California, him and these 4 or 5 other couples, and they were at a winery, and they used the Kintsugi motif, I guess, on their label, and so that sparked conversation within the group. And so Randy, my golfing buddy, he ended up, I don't know, I think he got, like, to give to other people as well, like 10 bowls, and because he wanted to give them away as Christmas gifts. And it's like perfect, and they'll remember that. But yeah, it's interesting how where the bowls end up. I never thought, I'm not an artist, I wouldn't say, but it's funny how I've come across something to where people will put it on their kitchen table, How many people can say that? And yeah, I look at my bowls. I have a workstation in my garage, and then I have a workbench, and I look at my bowls every single day, just to see what I have, the colors. I like variety. I probably have, as of now, maybe 40, 45 bowls, and then I would say that there might be 6 that are duplicates. Yeah. And so, the hunt is part of the fun of where I find them. And, so I'm part of these. I always feel like I'm part of the bowl's history. And it's like the ones that you have, it was part of my history. Now it's part of your history. And then, say in the future, you give to somebody else, it'll be part of their history too with you. And so I always tell people, if you do, re-gift your bowl, you guys sign it. You sign the card. So yeah, I mean, it's amazing how a bowl can have such meaning. But it's funny how it's kind of taken off as far as what it's meant for me in the giving and stuff. And so, I mean, here I am talking to you two, right? Who would have thought?
It's so go. I'll go. It's so beautiful, Curtis. I love to hear the process, and I love, I can imagine you putting the bowl in the towel and like crushing it or dropping it or taking a hammer to it or whatever that process is. And it's like, it's broken. You have no idea what you're going to get. And it's then working with that and kind of like, gracefully and gently thoughtfully putting it back together, just like, grace thoughtfully puts us back together. And it's such a connection point because I know my greatest connections, I know today, I used to try to hide all the flaws, but the more I'm open to the flaws that I have, that's how I connect deeply with other people. It's really,
Right.
yeah.
Right. I think, like, I'm very in tune to when I hear the word broken. You hear things on the news, and sometimes you'll hear where people say they're broken. I want to send them a ball. When I hear of athletes going through things and stuff, I want to I wish I knew how to send them a ball. Anytime I hear things or see things, it's like, God, I wish I could gift them one. I've sent bowls to hospitals. I've heard there's one in particular, and it was in Montana. It was during COVID at the beginning, and how stressed out nurses were. And this one guy, it was a male nurse, and he was saying how broken he was. Well, I found out what hospital he worked at, and so I sent him one.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, so when you hear the word broken, that may resonate in you now. When you hear people say that word, because of understanding embracing the brokenness, and brokenness isn't forever. It becomes a scar, and then we learn and grow from it, and hopefully we become better because of it. So yeah, it's amazing how philosophical I've become the older I've gotten. But I know, and one of the things too, I think, with COVID, you never knew when, if it was going to be, if we get it, am I going to, I have comorbidities, I have high blood pressure and stuff. And I'm thinking, I wanted something that was going to outlive me. And I don't know, for some reason that touched me too. That it's like, I want to, I have grandkids and stuff, but then I wanted something that when people see it, they'll think of me. So I'm not forgotten, And so, yeah, I mean, it's just, the COVID, the isolation, I mean, shoot, all that we've been through, and continue to go through, with different things, and yeah, I mean, I just wanted to be part of my legacy, I guess, and so shoot, I just sent bowls to my friend's sister, as she's to her cancer support group, and so yeah, I sent her 12 bowls, and so for her to hand out, and they were all. I didn't want to send 12 different bowls, but then I do have bowls that are similar in design. And so I thought, I'm going to give her 12 of those, but the color inside the bowls are different. And so even though the bowls inside were different, like they are, the exterior is what bonds them as far as, because it's all the same on the outside. And so, I do a lot of thinking on what I do now. So. I know it's kind of weird. I mean, if you would have known me in my younger years, you'd be thinking, gosh, what happened to him?
After breaking all these bowls.
Yeah. When I first told people that I break bowls, it's like, you do what? And then I explain it to them, and then I think they first thought I was nuts. I go, yeah, I've been breaking bowls and stuff, and it's like, and even to this day, I have a little ritual where I wash the bowls. I actually talk into a bowl saying, you are to become more beautiful. Thank you for your sacrifice. And then, after I wash it, I'll wrap it up in a towel, and then I'll lay it on the floor in the garage in the towel. And then I have a little hammer, like a little sledgehammer, and then I'll whack it. And it's always weird to break something that's not broken. Even to this day, it's still hard to break something that's not broken. But then, once I put it together, and then it's like, well, you've got a new life. Now you're going to be on a kitchen table. You're going to be on a bookshelf or in a cabinet or something. And so, or maybe a candy dish for all I know. And so if you look on the bottom of the card, it says, for decorative use only, not for food. It's only because I gave this guy a bowl, and the next thing you know, he's telling me he's going to have his chow mein in it, and fried rice. And I go, so I had to call him up immediately and say, don't eat out of it, Howard. It's purely decorative. So that's why I put that little disclaimer. Yeah, my friend Howard. And so that's why I put that little thing. I don't want people thinking that you're going to have it for your soup. Plus, I don't know if it's leak proof.
Well, hey, Curtis, I know, just like you said, these are a process that you do over time, and so these are not mass produced. And I'm saying that because if there's somebody who's interested in getting a bowl, or maybe purchasing a couple for friends or gifts, how can they reach you?
They can text me. You can give them my number. I'm not that worried about that.
We will.
And then
we'll post it in the notes. So for anybody listening or watching, we will give you all the information to get in touch with Curtis and get a bowl. Yeah. Ebony, how about, do you have any more questions? Or
Well, first thing, I need like 20 of them.
Why don't you take that offline with Mr.
That's my order. Maybe 21, somewhere in that neighborhood. Secondly, this has been such a pleasure, and you are so much cooler. And I had you on a pretty high pedestal, Curtis, but you're so much cooler than I could have ever imagined. You mentioned that you're not an artist, and I would just argue against that. I collect art. Every wall in my house is covered in art. I sit your bowl on the counter, and nobody looks at my art. They come straight to your bowl. So you are the biggest, greatest artist in my home, and I am so grateful for it. Thank you for being transparent and
Well,
vulnerable
thank
with us
you.
today and explaining your process. And now I'm going to brag to all of my friends that I've met you, and you really are as cool as I say you are. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you
Well,
so much.
you're welcome. Thank you so much for the compliment. Like I said, I mean, you know, maybe it's a sparkling, shiny object, when you see the gold. But I think when you learn about it, then it's that whole, because, they're pretty to look at. But then I think, like when I give it the Volt away, of course, I have the card, it explained it better than I could. So I took that from the internet. And, but it's, I think once you read the card, and I tell a lot of people, I give them, to it as give them a gift. And then it's like, well, read the card at your convenience. Don't read it like right now, because sometimes I think you need to sit down and then absorb it. And that's a lot of, they'll hear from them later, and what it means to them. And so, I just love that it touches people. I've always been kind of a sentimental guy, and I love how it touches people. And so, yeah, I might be doing this for the rest of my life.
I hope so.
Yeah, I do too. I got to order. I'm putting in also, but we'll talk about that later. But hey, Curtis,
Yeah.
I
Okay.
just want to
Okay. Well, thank you so much.
I just want to celebrate how that you let it catch you, you let Kintsugi catch you, and you followed your heart. And like you said, some of your bowls were failures and you just kept doing it. And it's just such a gorgeous representation of like how, how beautiful we all are, flaws and all. So I so appreciate you. And thank you so much for coming on the show.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's nice that I can, spread the word on what I do. And then, and now, I'm sure that I'm sure you two have probably heard references to it maybe in different media sources. I don't know. But you become a lot more aware of when you see it and when you hear it now. And so,
Absolutely.
yeah. Well, thank you. So,
You're welcome.
okay.
Thank you.
All right.
I'm glad this went well. I'm glad I finally was able to get on.
Well, thank you for your patience.
Absolutely.
Great. Ebony, anything, any wrap up?
There's beauty in the brokenness.
There you go.
Yep.
Yes, the glue of grace. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Okay.
See you next time.
Okay.
Great out.
Okay. Bye. Bye.
Thank you so much for joining us. If you enjoyed this episode, please let us know. We love to hear from you, and share it with a friend. Also, please be sure to subscribe so you're notified when a new episode is posted. We hope you're leaving with another pointer to grace, a new perspective that will light it up in your own life. Until next time, be well, be bold, be kind to yourself, and be on the lookout.